Welcome to HP FanFiction. Support me by subscribing the channel. Also, like and share the video to keep me motivated to make more videos like these. Harry closed the door and secured it. Sit down and get comfortable. Lyra took a seat on a fancy-looking leather sofa. Harry, how did you find this room? It's so nice. Do we have permission to be here? This was the room he normally used for his meetings with Daphne. He decided to bring his sister here for her first occlumency lesson. I found it by chance, and no, we don't have permission to be here, so try to keep silent about it. And I really mean try. Is this where you bring the girls? Lyra made a poor attempt at teasing him. He wondered where she was picking that up, hopefully not from Lavender and Parvati. Yes, this is where I bring the girls. Several times last year, in fact, he answered. But what? Lyra became shocked all of a sudden. You are joking, right? Harry sat down in front of her. Of course. Who do you take me for? Although technically he did not lie, as he has been here with Daphne many times. That was not funny, Lyra complained. She wanted to make fun of her brother, not the other way around. You asked first. Now let's not waste time. We only have 2 hours before dinner. Why did I have to come alone? It would be more fun with Ginny, Luna, and Astoria here. It would take too long to teach a group. He already tried that with Hermione, Daphne, and Tracy. It was exhausting. Once you learn enough, you can teach your friends. But I would not worry about Astoria. She probably already knows quite a bit. Okay, so, what do I do? Lyra leaned forward with interest. Harry put 2 fingers on her forehead and gently pushed her back. Rest your body in a comfortable position, and look directly at me. Lyra did as told. Now what? Now relax. I'm going to enter your mind using legilimency. She opened her eyes widely. What? You are going to enter my mind? Calm down. I'm not going to poke around or view your memories. However, I will be able to read your thoughts, so try to keep your mind clear of anything. That's easy for you to say. Lyra's cheeks became red. If you feel uncomfortable with this, we can ask Mom to teach you, but we will probably have to wait until next summer, or I could get you a book about occlumency, but learning by yourself will be much slower and a bit dangerous, so I don't recommend it. No, I'll do it. I trust you, Lyra said the last part with conviction. Very well then, lay down and relax, stare into my eyes. Harry pointed his wand at her and whispered, Legilim. As soon as he entered her mind, he found himself in a blank space filled with countless bubbles scattered all over. This was how unorganized minds typically looked. Each bubble contained a memory, and some were bigger than others. The sizes of the bubbles indicated how important that memory was for Lyra, and this also made it easier for her to remember them. A memory of something unimportant like what you had for breakfast would have a tiny bubble that would get lost in the sea of bubbles after a few days. He had promised Lyra not to peek into her memories, so he tried to avoid staring at any particular bubble for too long. But some of the bubbles started to move and jump in front of him. A memory of Lyra taking a shower this morning, changing clothes, or one of her and Ginny having an intimate conversation about female hygiene late at night in their room. Harry wanted to sigh but could not do it in this place. He was also unable to close his eyes or cover his ears, since he had none of those things here. Lyra, you fool. He knew well why this was happening. She was actively trying to avoid thinking about any moments she considered embarrassing. But this was a foolish endeavor. The more you try to avoid thinking about something in particular, the more your mind will focus on those very same thoughts. But he could not leave yet, or this would be all for naught. The objective of this intrusion is to force her mind to defend itself. From the moment he invaded her mind, Lyra was instinctively working on expelling him from this place. To accomplish this, she would be forced to create some primitive mental defenses. This method is even more effective if the invader is actively trying to cause harm to the other person, increasing the urge to expel the unwanted intruder. Of course, he would not do that to his sister, as he knew well how terrible that felt. Just standing here will be enough for now. He then started to feel a force trying to push him away. It was very weak still, but it was just the start. Her defenses had begun to form. He left Lyra's mind and opened his eyes. We will be stopping here for today. Lyra returned to her senses, and also opened her eyes. Wait, that's it? I thought we had 2 hours. It's been almost 2 hours already. Harry pointed at the clock on the wall. Whoa, that felt like minutes, Lyra exclaimed. Yes, well, time feels different while you delve deep into your mind. How did it go? I don't feel like I did anything, Lyra said. You didn't do anything directly, but your mind has already started to form defenses. It's going to take a few more classes like this one before the defenses are formed enough for you to gain control. We have to do this again then. At least 3 more times. We can meet once a week, Harry suggested. She then looked like she recalled something important. Harry, yes? He had an idea of what she wanted to ask. You didn't see anything, when you were in there you didn't see anything bad, right? Lyra asked, clearly embarrassed. Don't worry, I saw nothing. He had no choice but to lie there. Space distorted as 2 robed figures appeared into existence out of nowhere. Harry looked around the place. He had taken a small risk by apparating to a place he had never been before, at least in the technical sense. Harry, are you sure it's here? Dumbledore frowned as he stared at the numerous graves surrounding them. It was the safest place to apparate to. No one visits the cemetery at this late hour, and the house is close by, Harry explained. I understand. Well, I'll let you lead the way then, Dumbledore said to him. It was already almost midnight on a Saturday, when they agreed to make the trip to the Gaunt Manor. Yes, if I remember correctly the house should be on that hill over. Huh? He kept staring at the distant hill, where the house should have been, but he saw nothing. That's strange. Is there a problem? The old man asked after seeing Harry's confused expression. The house is not where it should be, Harry muttered. Perhaps they built it somewhere else in this timeline. Perhaps we have put too much trust in the memories from your past. Harry looked around the cemetery, trying to find a specific statue. I don't think so. He walked to it after finding what he was looking for. This is, Dumbledore asked, unsure what made this grave special. Here lies Tom Riddle Sr., Voldemort's Muggle father. His father. Dumbledore stared at the inscriptions on the stone. It wasn't just him, but several members of the Riddle noble house had been buried here. If this is here then… Oh! Harry spotted another large house on the opposite side. Could it be that one… Maybe I got it wrong. It's worth taking a look, I suppose, Dumbledore said. The 2 of them walked to the house. It was very old and made of wood, but was still holding strong by the looks of it. There should be no more members of the family left. But Harry started. It appears that someone has been maintaining this garden. Dumbledore pointed his thoughts out loud. Should we knock? Harry asked. His wand was already in his hand. He was sure that Voldemort himself was not here. Even without his scar he would be able to feel a wizard that powerful if he was this close. But some of his associates could be here. One never knew. Dumbledore was also on guard, trying to spot any movement inside the house. It was completely dark and any light inside the house would have stood out, but magic allowed us to hide many things. Both of them turned around when they heard someone approach. Hey, who goes there? The voice sounded like it belonged to an elderly male, and it didn't seem to have intentions of hiding his presence. Forgive us, good sir, for our late visit. Are you perhaps the owner of this house? Dumbledore spoke first with his polite tone. His wand, however, was still firmly in his hand, ready to be used at any moment. The man finally came into sight, an elderly man with humble clothing carrying an old oil lamp in one hand and a rusted shotgun in the other. You are looking for the owner? At this hour? But if you mean the Riddles, you are too late. He got the lamp closer to them so he could see their faces better. Who are you? I am Professor Dumbledore, and this is my grandson Harry. We came indeed looking for the, Riddle family. Yes, if there is anyone left. The Riddles, the old man grumbled. I don't know what business you have with that family, but they have been gone for a very long time. Do you know what happened to them? Dumbledore asked, hoping to learn something new about Voldemort. The old man considered for a moment. He was not the talkative type, but he hadn't talked with anyone in years now. Harry glanced at Dumbledore and moved his eyes to his wand. Dumbledore shook his head. Task, Harry complained. It would have been quicker to just stun him and read his mind. I used to work for Lord Riddle as the caretaker. They hired me after I returned from the war. It feels like it was a lifetime ago. The old man started talking. One day something terrible happened. The Lord went mad and killed his wife. I don't know why it was. They seemed to get along and then, were they the only ones living here? Asked Dumbledore. No, they had a boy, creepy little thing that was. It may sound wrong for me to say it, but it's the truth. I always felt there was something wrong with that boy. After his parents' death, he was taken to an orphanage out of town. He never came back here to reclaim this house or its contents. I guess he is dead too by now. I see no one else has come to this house since then. Dumbledore inquired. Yes, the house has been occupied by other families, but none have stayed for more than a year. They all said the same. There is something wrong in that house. The last family left 10 years ago. The old man stared at Dumbledore for a moment. I hope you are not planning on buying this place. I'm telling you that would be bad. Just let this damn house rot. If you want this house to rot, why are you taking care of it? It was Harry who asked. Ha! I am the caretaker. That's what I do. But I only take care of the garden, nothing else. Harry was surprised to hear this. If the house itself was not being maintained, it should have crumbled away already. There is definitely magic involved. But from who? He doubted Voldemort had any sentimental value for this place, so it must have been something his mother did. She may have been a squib, but she still came from an old wizard family. My good sir, rest assured, as we have no intention of buying this place, we are very grateful for your help, Dumbledore said. But wait, wasn't the ring found at the Gaunt Manor? Harry realized that they had the wrong house. He was not that familiar with this place, and both houses were very close to each other. Excuse me, sir, but does the Gaunt family sound familiar to you? The old man stared at Harry in shock. Now that's another old name I haven't heard in a while. Where did a young boy like you learn of that name? My grandpa. He glanced at Dumbledore. And I like to read about history and old English families. Well, you are in no luck. That family is long gone too. And their house. They have a house here, where? Dumbledore asked. They used to. It was bigger than this one. The biggest house in the town. You could see it from here. He pointed in the distance. Right on that hill. What happened to that house? Dumbledore inquired. Well, I believe it was 2 years ago it was burned. What a mess. Harry observed the remains of what was once the Gaunt Manor. Most of the property had completely collapsed with only a small part still standing. A police perimeter had been set around the area, warning onlookers against approaching, for fear of the house collapsing. I don't think this was done by a few children, Dumbledore commented. This was the story the caretaker told them. 2 years ago some rascals from the nearby town came to the house to have some fun and accidentally set it ablaze. Of course not, even in its abandoned state, this was a pure-blood wizard manor. It must still have some protections remaining. The idea of some muggle kids going inside and starting a fire is ridiculous. This was done with magic. I agree. We should proceed with caution. From what I know of the Gaunts, they were a very dark family. Some old traps may remain in place. Harry tapped the entrance door with his wand and it fell backward with a loud thud. Lumos. Multiple spheres of light came out of his wand and spread over the house, illuminating its interior completely. Dumbledore continued to cast detection spells as they moved. The part remaining is like, 20% of the house. We will be lucky if anything useful remains here, Harry commented. I don't think this part of the house survived the fire by luck alone, Harry. Dumbledore pointed at the walls. Harry looked more closely until he found what he had missed. The room was not burned equally. While the entrance was almost turned into charcoal, some of the walls and furniture inside were in much better shape. I believe that something in here had protected this part of the house, Dumbledore said. Harry noticed a pattern then. He followed the path that was least burned. The more he followed it, the fewer burns he found. Finally they came across a corner of the house that was completely intact. There. That cabinet looks good as new, Harry pointed. Indeed, whatever protected this room is in there. Dumbledore's words also contained a warning. This magical object or artifact was powerful enough to protect itself from a massive fire, so it stands to reason that it could also be very harmful to handle or even get close to. Look at that. Harry used his wand to call attention to one particular drawer. but didn't get too close. The cabinet appeared to be in pristine shape, but the top right drawer had a small hole burned in it. Something came out of there, and it was hot enough to burn its way out and leave such a clean hole, Dumbledore pointed out. Yes, that could be the origin of the fire. Harry knelt down and tapped on the wooden planks. Several planks of wood separated from the ground and melded together while starting to change shapes. Dumbledore stared with interest at Harry's work until it was finished. Impressive, you can create them very quickly. The mass of wood had transformed until it formed a humanoid golem, almost the same size as Harry. Thanks, I'm getting really good at making these golems. He had gained a lot of practice recently. I assume this fellow will be opening that cabinet for us? Dumbledore asked. Yes, let's take a few steps back, Harry recommended. The duo stood a safe distance away and let Harry's golem take the risk. He had a mental connection with the construct, so there was no need to speak any orders out loud. Harry directed the golem to open the drawer that had the burned hole in it. As the golem pulled it open, some yellow substance was squirted out by some mechanism inside the cabinet and landed on the golem's face and chest. The parts touched by the viscous liquid started to dissolve immediately. Some kind of acid, Dumbledore concluded after observing it carefully. Very nasty, and it didn't use any magic, so the detection spell would not have picked up this kind of trap. Dumbledore had been relying on these same detection spells since they entered. Perhaps you can make another golem to escort us out. We may have been fortunate to not trigger anything else so far. I assume most traps were destroyed in the fire, but we are not done yet. The golem was damaged but could still move. Harry had it pull the entire drawer out and empty its contents on the ground. Let's see. He moved the golem and used it to better examine the contents, while Dumbledore watched with rapt attention. Jewels, paper. Oh, look at that box. The golem picked up a small metallic box. It had a velvet cushion inside, and a melted hole on the side. That thing came out of this box, Harry said. It's a box meant for a ring, Dumbledore pointed out. There is a symbol at the top, Harry observed. That is the Gaunt emblem, Dumbledore added. The Gaunt family ring was in there. He must have recalled it somehow. And in doing so, it started a fire. Damn, the stone we were looking for was on that ring. The resurrection stone was part of the Gaunt family ring. Dumbledore was surprised to hear this. Yes, but I doubt Voldemort knew that he had one of the Hallows in his power. He would not have used it to make one of his Horcruxes. Dumbledore appeared to be thinking something. Did he actually turn the resurrection stone into a Horcrux, or just the ring part? Huh? I didn't think about that. Harry tried to recall the events of his past. Dumbledore found the ring and was cursed when he put it on. And then, after destroying the Horcrux, they were still left with the intact stone. There is a good chance he only managed to use the ring, and not the stone. That would make more sense. Turning a Hallow into a Horcrux should not be possible. Those are not artifacts that a mere mortal wizard could meddle with and alter in any way. Dumbledore pointed at the bottom of the drawer that the golem took out. And look at that. Harry followed his finger and saw it too. There was a second burned hole at the bottom of the drawer. His eyes moved back to the cabinet. There is something still in there. Harry guided the golem back to the cabinet and opened the lower door. The two of them waited for a minute. No traps, Harry said. It does seem like it, Dumbledore agreed. Someone is going to have to look inside because the golem can't see, and if it tips, the entire cabinet is going to be a mess. Harry commented. Indeed, that seems to be the case, Dumbledore agreed again. Harry glanced at the man. Well, old men first. He pointed at the cabinet. That is a very impolite way to speak to your headmaster, young man. Dumbledore reprimanded him.
What do you mean by impolite?
It's the law of life. Besides, aren't professors supposed to protect their students? Harry huffed. I don't remember ever teaching you anything and yet you call me professor, Dumbledore remarked. In a different life, you were my mentor and taught me many things. That should count for something, right? Harry said. Dumbledore sighed. I suppose, and I was the one who wanted this the most. The old man took a step forward and approached the cabinet. The golem moved out of the way but stood close. Harry kept it there in case something actually happened, and he had to move the old man out of the way. A small light appeared at the tip of Dumbledore's wand, and he used it to search the interior of the furniture. Most things here have been burned to an unrecognizable state. What fell from the drawer must have been extremely hot. If there is something that is not burnt, that's probably the thing we are looking for, Harry commented. Oh, Dumbledore exclaimed. He then used his free hand to move something out of there. Careful, don't touch it with your bare hands. Don't want to get cursed again, Harry warned. Again, Dumbledore raised an eyebrow. He used his wand to move the black stone out and Harry could get a good glimpse of it. Yes, that's the one. The resurrection stone. Dumbledore stared intensely at the octagonal black stone. Let the golem grab it first, Harry advised. There is no need. A curse that could be placed into something like this would not be triggered unless a living being held it, Dumbledore said without hesitation, and immediately grabbed the stone. If you feel anything wrong, let me know. I'll cut your hand, Harry told the headmaster. I don't think there will be a need for that. I don't feel anything in this stone. Dumbledore didn't take his eyes off the artifact. Well, that's good. Harry noticed the way Dumbledore was staring at the stone. If you are going to use it, go ahead. But don't get your hopes up. He looked back at Harry for a moment. You knew about it? Harry shrugged. You once told me a few things about your sister. Your brother told me the rest of the story. I see. Dumbledore held the stone firmly in his hand, and whispered a name. Ariana. Harry waited for several minutes and watched as the old man called the name of his sister many times, but there was no answer. Sorry, but I already told you, the Hallows are not working any longer. It does appear to be the case. I spent so long looking for this stone. I just wanted to apologize, Dumbledore said with a sad tone. I'm sure you'll have your chance to speak with her again. One day Harry tried to cheer him up. Yes, you may be right. The headmaster stood up and walked to Harry. He extended his hand and handed the stone to him. I think it's best if you keep this. It was not meant for me. On Monday morning, all students were having breakfast at the Great Hall. Harry could not help but overhear a conversation the two biggest gossips in Hogwarts were having. Maybe he just got sick, Parvati said. I heard he wasn't even on the train here, and no one saw him during the summer either. Lavender exclaimed. Still, he started classes a bit later this year. Hermione frowned. She may not like the boy, but she didn't like the idea of something bad happening to one of the students. I'm telling you, he's disappeared. Draco Malfoy has vanished. Lavender said it a bit too loud. Wait, is that true? Ron became excited upon hearing the news. I thought it was weird he didn't come to bother us yet. Seamus added. Did something happen to Malfoy? Neville asked with concern. I asked around and no one knows. No one has seen him, Lavender said. Harry felt Lyra's gaze on him. He returned the look in a way that said, keep your mouth close. They were not meant to know about their father's investigation. Right at that moment, several owls entered the hall to deliver their letters and newspapers. Two of them landed in front of Harry, and he barely managed to move his cup out of the way before it was hit. Why do they always aim for my cup? The first paper he got was from Xenos's paper, The Quibbler. He did not ask for a subscription but was apparently gifted one anyway. The front cover spoke of the usual conspiracy theory. This time it was werewolves moving around the countryside and stealing cheese. Wait. What? The cover of the Prophet was a lot more troubling. What is it? Lyra heard him, and got her head closer so she could also read the paper. The newspaper headline read, Breaking news, 5 Azkaban convicts are discovered to be innocent. They had innocent people in there. Oh, that's terrible. Hermione had also leaned towards Harry. I had read about that prison. What a cruel place. Harry continued to read the article until he reached the names of the innocent men being released. A cruel place for cruel people. Augustus Rookwood, Avery Jr., Corbin Yaxley, Mr. Jugson and Mr. Selwyn. 5 known Death Eaters. He looked over at the Slytherin table and spotted several happy faces among the senior students. This must be Parkinson's doing. I hope the Order gets to work because that man is planning to make a move soon. Expelliarmus. A flash of light shot out from Ginny's wand and impacted the target dummy's hand, making the stick it was holding fly away. Very good demonstration, Miss Weasley. Ginny felt embarrassed when she felt the eyes of the entire class on her and rushed back to her seat. Professor Potter, a student raised his hand. Yes? Do you have a question? Lily gestured for the student to speak. I thought the disarming charm was supposed to be taught in our 4th year. Why are we studying it now? Lily nodded. That's true, but it is a very important spell to learn early, so I decided to teach it now. It is also a crucial part of your defense, OBWL. Having 2 extra years to master it will do you good. Yes. Shut up, Tommy. We want to learn it, a girl from Gryffindor shouted at him. It looks like bravery is not present in all Gryffindors. I know what kind of coward doesn't want to learn a new spell. Some of the Slytherin students started to mock him. I just wanted to point that out. The student was starting to regret bringing that up. Hey Jin, a blonde girl next to Ginny tapped her shoulder. When did you learn to do that? Well, Ginny wasn't sure what to say. She now wished Professor Potter hadn't called her for a demonstration. My brother taught us during our last summer, Lyra commented from Ginny's left side.
Lyra?
Ginny gave her a shut-up gesture. They were not supposed to talk about that. Performing magic outside Hogwarts was against the rules after all. Lyra finally realized this and looked troubled now. Did I say that? No. What I meant is, we read it in a book. Yep, that's what happened. The blonde girl chuckled. She knew that Lyra was terrible at keeping secrets. It's okay, I won't tell anyone. She leaned onto Ginny's table so she could whisper. So, your brother Harry gave you some private lessons. How lucky. Of course, my brother is a genius. Lyra bragged. He is also very cute, too bad we can't go to Hogsmeade until next year. I would drag him away with me otherwise. Anna, you can't. Ginny raised her voice a bit too much. Why do you care, Gin? I thought you were going after Longbottom. The blonde girl gasped. Don't tell me you changed teams. What? That's none of your business, Anna. Ginny was getting annoyed. The girl threw Ginny a suspicious glance before moving her eyes to Lyra. You know, speaking of your brother, I heard this morning that he quit the Quidditch team. Is that true? You heard that already. Lyra was surprised. That only happened the day before, and she only knew about it because she accompanied Ginny for her Seeker test. I don't think they want people to know until the next game at the end of the week. That is going to be difficult. I heard it from Lavender. Anna made a complicated expression. The entire school will know by the end of the day then, Ginny commented. But why? He had to be the best Seeker we ever had, Anna asked. He had his reasons. Ginny hurried up to say before Lyra opened her mouth and said something she shouldn't. And do you know who the replacement is going to be? She asked. Lyra's eyes moved to Ginny, but before anyone could say anything else, something hit Ginny's desk, where the 3 girls were leaning over to talk. A series of bright sparks shot out, making a lot of noise and startling the girls. Were you 3 listening to anything I was saying? A very annoyed Lily Potter was staring at them. I'm sorry, Professor Potter, Ginny and Anna said together. Sorry, Mum, Lyra added. Lily's frown deepened. It is Professor Potter, or just Professor, when we are in class. How many times do I have to remind you of that, Lyra? Sorry, Professor. That would be 5 points from Gryffindor for talking in class and not paying attention. Lily said with a stern tone. But Professor, Lyra wanted to complain. This is not fair. Ginny covered her friend's mouth before she could make things worse. Do I need to add a detention? Lily asked. The 3 girls shook their heads very quickly. Good. I am going to call you one by one, and you will try the disarming charm on the dummy. Lily glanced at the girls. Since you were not listening to my explanation, I am going to assume you already know all about it. Let's start with you, Lyra. Come to the front and show the class how it's done. Erg. Lyra groaned. We really made your mother mad today, Ginny commented as she and Lyra walked through the halls once classes were over. I can barely recognize her when she is in professor mode. She is such a sweet mom at home. Well, at least she is sweet at home. Consider yourself lucky. I don't want to imagine having my mother as a teacher. Ginny got goosebumps at the mere thought. They went through another set of stairs and finally arrived at the last floor of the castle. Puff. Why did they have to put the Ravenclaw tower so high up? Lyra felt exhausted already. Maybe next time we can just meet at the hall, Ginny added. They had promised to meet with Astoria and Luna to hang out after classes. Are those? Lyra squinted her eyes when she spotted a group of people ahead. Two girls with Ravenclaw uniforms were cornered by two older boys with green robes. Ginny gasped, "Those are Luna and Astoria. They are in trouble. Hurry, Ginny." Lyra took off running. "Hey, leave them alone," Lyra shouted, her wand already pointed at the two boys. "Oh, we have some heroes." Graham Montage was a tall boy, with black hair. He towered over the four girls in an intimidating manner. "Look, two Gryffindors." Peregrine Derek was much shorter than his friend but still had a very thick and muscular frame with short blonde hair. He did a lot of physical training due to his position as a beater on the Slytherin team. The scars on his face twisted around when he smiled at the girls. There was not an ounce of kindness in that smile, just cruelty and lust. Creepy Lyra made a disgusted expression. "What did you say?" Derek shouted. "Ah, she got you there." Montage chuckled. He then looked directly at Lyra and Ginny. "We have some business with the blonde one over here." He pointed at Luna. "It's best if you get lost." Derek got closer to Luna. "Yeah, this blonde bitch and I have some unfinished business from last year." Luna pointed at him. "You are the floating boy," she just realized. Astoria was just glancing at Luna and the Slytherin boy. There was not a hint of worry on her face. "Floating boy." Derek's face contorted with anger. "It's best if you leave," Montage warned Ginny and Lyra. "Even I cannot stop him when he gets like this." "You think we are going to abandon our friends? You are crazy." Lyra pointed her wand at the two boys. "Stay away from them, I know how to fight, I'm warning you," she shouted, her hand trembling uncontrollably. A cruel smile crept onto Derek's face. "Maybe we can have some fun after I'm done with the Ravenclaws. I like redheads with a temper." He licked his lips while staring at Lyra up and down. "Wait, that redhead with green eyes, doesn't she remind you of someone?" Montage told him. "Ha, or, you are right. Those eyes," Derek exclaimed. "Oi, redhead, what's your name?" "Don't answer him," Ginny told her. "Two redheads, with temper then." Derek's grin became more accentuated. "I'm not going to tell you anything, just go away." Lyra frowned. "Ha, that's fine. I know you're a Potter. Those green eyes can't lie." Derek clenched his teeth. "You must be related to that hot new teacher." Montage chuckled. "Ah yes, every boy in Slytherin wants to give her a good fuck." "Ha ha," Derek laughed. "Don't talk about my mother like that." Lyra aimed her wand at Derek. "Stupefy." The expression on the boy changed immediately when he saw the red spark approach. "Protego." He created a small shield and used it to deflect the spell away. Incarcerus. White ropes came out of his wand and wrapped around Lyra, who did not have time to react. Harry had taught them how to use a few spells against a target dummy, but they had never dueled against another human who would fire back at them. She didn't even think of using the protective ring that Harry had given her. Unlike the one he gave Holly, this one had to be manually activated. Lyra let out a yelp as she fell down and lost her wand. Ginny acted immediately. Expelliarmus. Her aim was good, but Derek saw it coming and moved out of the way, answering with another Incarcerus that hit Ginny. Luna, who was in front of the other boy, also pulled her wand from her ear, and aimed it well. Expelliarmus. Montage yelled in pain and grasped at his right arm, letting his wand fall. "What the bloody hell was that? You almost broke my arm." "That was not what I was trying to do," Luna lamented before Montage pushed her violently against the wall. The hit made Luna lose her balance and fall while Montage took his wand back. "Fuck, that hurt," he complained. "You okay, Graham?" Derek asked. "I'm fine, that blonde one almost broke my arm with an Expelliarmus." Montage moved his gaze to Astoria.
"What about you, aren't you going to fight?"
Astoria shrugged. "I think this one is harmless," Montage told his friend. "Now what?" "Now. It's time to get some payback." Derek approached Lyra. "Do you see these scars, girl?" He pointed to the several scars across his face. "Your damn brother gave me these when he dragged me across the entire school," he screamed. "He should have done worse," Lyra muttered. "Oh yeah, I could have had them removed, but I decided to keep them, as a reminder of what I have to give him back." Derek had a cruel smile on his face as he got closer to Lyra. "Maybe I'll give some to you. That will send a message." Lyra was trembling now. "You can't, you'll get expelled. If you touch us." Ginny warned him. A good memory charm and you won't know who did what. Who is going to get expelled then? Derek asked. We should take them to a classroom. People may come through here. Montage warned his friend. Right, but before that, an appetizer. Derek lifted his wand. Derek, what are you doing? Not to. Montage's eyes opened wide. Suddenly he couldn't speak. He tried to move towards his friend to warn him, but he tripped and almost fell down. Derek didn't notice this. He was busy staring at the terrified face of Lyra. I hate those eyes. He spat the words. I want to see them in pain. Cruci. Derek clutched at his throat. He couldn't speak any longer. Hey, what's going on here? Someone came running through the hall and yelled at them. Montage and Derek didn't recognize who he was, but by the band on his arm they assumed he was a prefect. Neither of them could speak, so they just ran. Montage had a lot of difficulty moving, and had to be helped by Derek. Ginny looked at the approaching figure, whom she had recognized immediately. Percy, help! Ginny shouted. Harry left the castle's foundation and went through the giant painting into the hall. He was done checking his project. The current batch of Magicite was much bigger than the previous one, because he was planning on making a few extra pieces of protective jewels for his family and closest friends, as well as some other project he had in mind. Can't wait to see the final product. Hopefully this next one lasts me longer. His last jewel array didn't even last an entire year. After months of work, it was a shame. Harry had only turned the first corner when two house elves appeared in front of him. Sir. Mr. Potter, students are in trouble, sir. He heard another noise behind him. Master Potter, Harry, sir. Dobby butchered his name once again. My sister? Harry asked the elf. There were only 3 girls this elf was guarding, and his sister was the most likely to get in trouble. All of them, sir. Dobby looked extremely nervous. All of them. What could have possibly happened now? He thought. Okay, take me there then. He did not want to waste any precious time, so he extended his hand and allowed the elf to bring him away. As soon as he appeared, he could already hear a heated argument. Harry assessed the situation and quickly grabbed Dobby before moving behind a column, away from their eyes. Master? Dobby didn't understand what they were waiting for. He thought they had come here to rescue them. Don't intervene. I want to see how they handle this. Harry ordered the elf. With a quick glance he recognized the 2 boys. They were part of the Slytherin team and were also present at the Parkinson's party. Montage. And Derek, I believe. That guy didn't learn his lesson. It seems. Stay away from them. I know how to fight. I'm warning you. He heard Lyra shouting. Oh, for Merlin's sake, you should have shot them 10 times already. Why did you even stop to talk? Harry wanted to smack her head. By the time Lyra used her stunner, Derek was more than ready to counter her. Lyra didn't react in time, and lost the fight in just 1 spell. Didn't even use the ring I gave her. He could not feel too disappointed though, as he was already expecting this result. After Lyra went down, Ginny made her move. Was she waiting for her turn to attack? It was 2 against 1. What a wasted opportunity. And Ginny went down as easily as his sister. I can see that they are in dire need of some real training. He'll have to make some room in my schedule to teach them a few things. Luna was the most interesting one. She didn't even aim the disarming charm at the wand. She went directly for the arm, and almost broke it. If she likes ripping arms so much, perhaps I should teach her a more efficient method. Harry considered. Luna lost, and Astoria didn't even put up a fight. Harry wasn't sure if that girl had the chance to learn a single spell yet. She had only been able to use her magic very recently after all. Now, it's time to get some payback. He heard Derek threatening his sister. Master. Dobby looked worried but couldn't disobey his order. Do nothing, and don't give me that look, Dobby. I'm not going to let that waste of oxygen touch my sister. Have some faith in me for Merlin's sake. Harry told Dobby. He was impressed by how Lyra stood defiant in the face of a stronger opponent until the end. He decided that it was time to intervene before those boys used something harmful. First he disabled Montage and then silenced Derek, who was about to use an unforgivable on Lyra. That one is going to cost you extra. Harry frowned. He was about to show himself and chase them away, when he heard Percy yelling. Derek and Montage took off running in the direction he was in, so he took Dobby and apparated away before they saw him. He reappeared back in the corridor he was in before being called by the elves. What a mess! He conjured a piece of parchment and some ink. Before you go back to your normal duties, I have something else for you to do, he told Dobby. Master Harry is not going to punish those evildoers who attacked the miss. The elf asked in disbelief. Harry moved the ink to write a short message on the parchment before he turned to look at Dobby. Punish them. His eyes had turned colder. The elf felt the temperature in the hallway drop all of a sudden. You mean the boys who attacked my friends, insulted my mother and tried to use a cruciatus on my sister? Dobby took a step back and looked into Harry's eyes. Master, this was the first time Dobby had ever seen his master this angry. Yes, Dobby, I am going to make them pay, and their families too. But first, he handed the piece of parchment to the elf. I want you to give this to Daphne once she is alone, then you can go back to your duties. Make sure those girls are okay. Yes, master. Dobby took the parchment and disappeared to carry out his duty. Harry opened his robe and took a small metallic stick from his inner pocket. The stick then grew in size until it became a long metallic staff, around 120 cm to 47 inches, with 3 green gems on its head. Can't use my wand for this. So, tonight I will be testing you. I think the Slytherin house is going to remember this night for a long time. Hogwarts, 10 p.m. All students were in their common rooms by now. It was still a weekday, so most of them were already in their own bedrooms, preparing to sleep. The entrance to the Slytherin house was the most secretive of the 4. The dungeons were composed of a confusing set of identical corridors. If one wasn't paying a lot of attention, it would be easy to miss the snake decorations on one particular stone wall. If a Slytherin student stood in front of this wall, a door would appear, and after speaking the correct password aloud, it would open. Bombarda Maxima. Harry was not in the mood for passwords tonight. The wall exploded into hundreds of pieces, revealing a marble staircase that descended further. The office belonging to the head of the Slytherin house was near the entrance, meaning that Professor Snape must have heard the noise. Unfortunately for him, Harry had sealed the entrance to his office. This was not a normal lock that could be removed with a simple Alohomora. Harry had made full use of his authority over the castle to block that particular office. Nothing short of physically destroying the door or wall would allow Snape to leave now. The professor would surely spend quite a while trying every option before resorting to blowing up the door, but even if he did, he would never make it in time. Clank. The sound of metal hitting the marble stairs could be heard with every step that Harry took. As he descended the stairs, he also tapped them with his staff, and a wall of marble rose up behind him with every tap. Harry was blocking the only entrance to the dungeons further and further as he descended. When he took the final step into the narrow corridor that led into the common room, there was no longer an exit to these chambers. Only Albus Dumbledore, with his authority to use apparition inside the castle, would be able to intervene in time now. Placing a sleeping draught in his nightly tea was surprisingly easy. All he had to do was go into the kitchen and tamper with the tea before the elf delivered it. He could hear some commotion coming from the main common area of the house. Harry applied an invisibility charm on himself as well as a silencing one on his shoes. What was that noise? It sounded like something broke. Should we go take a look? Why don't you go check? I'm sure Professor Snape will take care of it, if there is something to take care of. Are you scared, Patrick? Harry noticed someone approaching the entrance, so he waited there. Fine, I'll go by myself. A boy appeared into the dark corridor Harry was standing in. He looked like a 6th or 7th year student that he was not familiar with. He's not one of them. He waited until the boy had taken a few steps away from the entrance before stunning him. Harry came here looking for specific people and had no interest in anyone else. Inside the common room he counted 9 persons, 7 boys, and 2 girls. All of them appeared to be seniors, from 5th to 7th year. Several members of the Slytherin Quidditch team were present. Marcus Flint, Adrian Pusey, Lucian Bowe, and Peregrine Derrick. He did not know the other ones, but most of his targets were there at least. I can look for Montage later. I better take care of— Wait, he heard someone coming from the bedroom stairs. It looks like today is my lucky day after all. Harry thought when he recognized the figure of Montage walking into the room. He appeared to have a problem walking as he was limping a bit. Still hurts? Derek said with a mocking tone. Shut up. Montage made his way to one of the couches and sat down. What happened to your leg? One of the girls asked. Nothing. I just tripped this morning. Montage answered in a bad mood. He could not tell his friends that he got hurt while harassing a bunch of second-year girls. They would mock him endlessly. We have a game against Gryffindor in 2 days. Marcus Flint reminded him. I'll be fine by tomorrow. This is nothing. Montage huffed, hoping to end the questioning. That's odd. You were fine after classes. Then you took off with Derek to do Merlin knows what. Lucien Bowl commented. He was also in 5th year like Derek and Montage. Flint gave Montage and Derek a suspicious look, but before he could say anything, someone else spoke. What is Patrick doing? He should be back by now, a 7th-year blonde girl said. That is true. Adrian Pusey glanced at the entrance. Should we go take a look? Maybe something did happen. What could have happened? He just went to the corridor, Bowles said. What are you guys talking about? Montage asked. We heard some weird noises a few minutes ago. Patrick went to check the corridor, Derek answered. Strange noises. Montage raised an eyebrow. Fine, I'll go. Adrian, come with me, Marcus Flint said. As the captain of the team, he was used to taking charge of the situation. Carol, do you think something happened to him? The 7th-year girl asked her friend. When she got no answer, she got closer and touched her shoulder. Carol, are you listening? As she pushed her a bit, her friend fell to one side, but her body remained rigid like it was made of stone. Carol, she exclaimed in alarm. This got the attention of everyone in the room. Harry kept himself in the dimly lit areas of the common room. The invisibility charm was far from perfect, and they would immediately spot him if he walked into the light. While they talked, he moved behind a sofa and used a petrifying curse on one of the girls. This one was not as strong as the one used by the basilisk, and the affected person would return to normal after a few hours. However, in the meantime it will be extremely difficult to reverse. This made it a better choice over a stunner, with the downside that it took longer to cast, and you had to be very close to the target. Carol, her friend exclaimed. What's wrong? Flint asked. He and Pusey were close to the door when they heard. It's Carol. Something is wrong with her. Derek and Montage were the closest, so they stood up and went to take a look. She is not unconscious. Derek noticed her eyes were still open. It's like she is frozen, Montage added. She has obviously been hit by some spell, Flint concluded. By who? We are the only ones here, the girl said. That looks like petrification, said Pusey when he got closer. Derek turned to the 3 boys sitting on a nearby couch. Did you guys see anything? When he got no answer, Derek became annoyed. This is not the time for jokes. I'm talking to you 3. Wait. Upon closer inspection, Pusey noticed that they had been afflicted by the same thing as the other girl. They are also petrified. What is going on? Is someone attacking us? Bowles started to panic. Of course someone is attacking us, you bloody idiot, Flint shouted. Get your wands out. The remaining girl went to stand up when a flash of red light hit her at the back of her head, and she fell down. I saw it, Pusey said. I saw a stunner coming from there. He pointed to a corner. Some of the boys shot a couple of stunners and a cutting charm to the corner but didn't seem to hit anything except the furniture. Harry moved again, this time closer to the stairs that led to the dormitories. He had taken care of the 3 boys and 2 girls who had nothing to do with his visit. But if he left things as they were, it would just be a matter of time before more students came here to check on the noises. His staff made a soft clank sound when he touched the wall. The stone came to life and morphed, increasing its width until the 2 entrances to the dorms were completely sealed. He is over there, Derek shouted. Another barrage of spells hit the wall where Harry had been moments ago. He is using a disillusionment charm or an invisibility cloak, Montage said. I'm tired of this game. Show yourself, Flint shouted before lifting his wand up. Hominum revelio. Find him, Pusey exclaimed while he frantically looked around. Bowler caught a glimpse of a bright silhouette moving towards the entrance. There, he is trying to escape. The other 4 Slytherin boys turned their heads. Do you think we will let you go after this? Pusey threw a stunner at the figure. Flint's Revelio had made his figure shine brightly, but they were still unable to identify him. Escape? Harry deflected the stunner with little effort. I have no intention of escaping. The 5 boys stood there in shock when they heard that voice. That voice, I know who that is. Montage spoke first, and by the faces of his friends they also recognized it. Potter, Derek screamed with rage. Harry cancelled the invisibility charm since there was no more use for it. Flint smiled. I'll admit you have some courage to come here alone and attack us. But this is going to cost you. You are also an idiot, Pusey added. Now that your little trick has been exposed, you have no chance against the 5 of us. Harry was next to the exit. He moved his staff and tapped on the wall. As he did with the entrance to the bedrooms, he transfigured the walls surrounding the door to close the hole, leaving them now in what was essentially a sealed chamber. The 5 boys were yet to realize how trapped they were, and their attention was instead driven to Harry's weapon. What's that thing? A staff? Bowl asked. I have seen a staff before, but never one made of metal, Pusey added. Where did you get? Never mind that. What do you think you are doing? Flint pointed his wand at Harry. Harry's eyes moved from Derek to Montage before going back to Flint. At least 2 of you know why I am here. Flint glanced at Derek and Montage. He knew these 2 had been up to no good today, but they would not talk about what happened. What did you do? Come on, Captain. Who cares? Let's just beat him up and be done with it, Montage said. I knew it, Bowl pointed at them. Shut it, Bowl. It's not like you never came with us for a bit of hunting before, Montage reminded him. Hunting? Flint's eyes went from Derek to Harry. I see. He could already guess what happened to get Potter this angry. They went after his sister. Not that he cared, but this went against his orders. See these scars, Potter? Derek pointed at his face. After I'm done with you, not even that bitch of a mother you have will recognize you. Flint sighed. I told you not to do anything until I got permission. He knew their parents were planning something big on Hogwarts this year, but he had not been given the full story yet. He just had been told to avoid doing anything that called for attention. Fine, it's too late to stop now. Let's take care of this, and make sure that word doesn't get out. Flint moved his wand towards Harry. Incarus. White ropes flew at Harry. He caught them with his staff and flung them back, hitting Bowl in the face. Arg! Bowl yelled as the ropes tightened around his face and neck. Flint was shocked for a moment after seeing his spell deflected with such ease, but he recovered quickly and made haste to free his friend before he suffocated with the ropes. Meanwhile, Montage, Pusey and Derek went on the offensive. Montage tried the disarming charm, Pusey used a cutting charm, while Derek went directly into a Cruciatus curse. Harry smacked away the 2 charms and blocked the curse with a conjured brick. He moved his staff up before bringing it down with a descending motion. Engorgio. The staff grew in size until it almost touched the tall ceiling, and then it descended and landed on Montage's shoulder, making a loud crunching sound when it shattered his bones. The boy let out a tremendously loud scream and went down on his knees. Pusey and Derek threw more spells at him, but were too slow. Harry retracted his staff and used first a silencio on Derek before pointing the tip of the staff at Pusey. The 3 green crystals on the end of the staff shone brightly with an eerie green light. Incendium. A splash of liquid fire impacted Pusey's chest. Harry had to ensure he avoided his face, or he would have died instantly. The boys started to scream and tried to remove the burning substance, but that only burned his hands, leading to more screams. The effect only lasted for a few seconds before the liquid disappeared, since Harry had intentionally put very little magic on that spell. Still, this was dark magic, and those burns were not going away anytime soon. His attention went back to Derek, who had been staring at his friend's burns without being able to do anything about it. Gladius. The staff transformed into a long blade. Derek panicked when he saw Harry move quickly toward him. He tried to cast a silent tripping jinx followed by a silent stunner, since he was still unable to speak. Protego. Harry blocked them with a small shield that manifested before his blade. Once he was in front of Derek, he made an upward slashing motion that left a deep diagonal cut on the boy, from his calf, all the way to his shoulder. Derek screamed when he saw blood pouring out and felt a burning, painful sensation on his body. Flint was done freeing Pusey. It had only taken him 10 seconds at most, but 3 of his friends were already grievously injured. Only then did he understand how bad of a situation they were in. They had seriously underestimated Harry. "Potter, stop this." Flint saw Montage, Pusey, and Derek lying on the ground. Derek had a lot of blood on his chest, and Pusey was badly burned and moaning in pain. It quickly became evident that Harry was not playing around. This was not a simple school duel. He had never fought anyone for real before and could not help but be scared. "This is too much. We have to take them to the infirmary." Lucian Bowler stood back up and saw what Harry had done. His eyes opened wide.
You are going to be expelled for this.
"Our parents will make sure." "You are talking like Malfoy now." Harry smiled at the memory. It had been a while since he heard the blonde boy's catchphrase, and he kind of missed it. "Anyways, let's continue." The staff reverted to its normal shape. "Lucian, help me," Flint told his friend. He realized that talking was not going to help them. They both aimed their wands at Harry. Lucian Bowl used a blood-boiling curse while Flint tried a bone-breaking curse aimed at his chest. These were some of the most dangerous curses they had learned. Only Derek was able to cast the Cruciatus, something he was very proud of. Clank! Harry's staff hit the ground once more. A wall of stone appeared in front of Harry. Several cracks appeared on its surface when the spells hit it. Harry tapped the wall with his staff. Depulso. The wall exploded into 100 fragments of debris that shot at Pusey and Flint like bullets. The boys screamed as their flesh was ripped apart and their bones shattered. A moment later they were both lying on the floor, their bodies shaking while they made painful noises. Harry saw Montage staring at him with absolute terror in his eyes. When Harry approached him, the boy scrambled backward as fast as he could. "Please, I'm sorry." He had lost his wand, and his shoulder hurt so badly that he could barely think. "Which hand did you use to push my friend Luna? Was it left or right?" Harry asked as he walked toward him. Montage hit his back against a wall and could not go any further. "Right!" He could barely remember what happened that afternoon any longer. Harry brought the pointy end of the metallic staff onto Montage's leg with full force, piercing it. Montage screamed. "The blonde girl you attacked this afternoon, was it left or right?" Harry asked again. What? Harry pierced his other leg. "Say what again? And I'm taking both." I think it was right," Montage finally said. Harry used his feet to expose Montage's right arm. Defendo. With a quick slashing motion of his staff, the arm was cleanly cut at the shoulder. Montage's eyes opened so wide that it almost looked like they were about to fall out when he saw what happened to his arm, and then he passed out from the shock. "Task, you lost consciousness just from that." Harry hurried to cast a fire spell and seal his wound before he bled out. He then tapped the severed limb with the staff. This one turned into dust and disappeared. "One left," he said as he walked to Derek. He was the only one who remained alert at this point. The terrified boy was not able to see everything that happened, but he had been hearing all the screams his friends had given. "Potter, stop this," he shouted. "You are going to Azkaban for this. A good memory charm and you won't know who did what. Who is going to get in trouble then?" Harry returned the words he told his sister. "Besides is just a few cuts and broken bones. A few days in the hospital, and they'll be fine." Harry glanced at Montage. "Well, the missing arm is a different story, but forget about them. Now is your turn." "Potter? Let me stop you right there," Harry interrupted him. "Don't bother apologizing or begging me. I take no joy in those things. Let's get this over with." "What else do you want to do? I'm already hurt, don't you see?" Derek shouted. "Of the 4 of you, you are by far the worst." Harry got closer. "Assaulting children is something I will never be able to ignore." "What a why?" Derek froze when he saw Harry's cold eyes. "Are you going to deny it to my face?" Harry asked. "Those were mudbloods. I never defiled a pure-blood girl," Derek said in his defense. "And you think that makes it okay? Why do I bother talking to you?" Harry pointed his staff between Derek's legs. "No." The boy ignored his pain and tried to crawl away from Harry. "Incarus, White ropes came out of his staff and secured Derek in place. Harry kicked him to turn him on his back and put a foot on top to keep him from moving again. Keep wriggling around and this may just kill you. He aimed the tip of his staff at Derek's crotch. Exalvo horribilis. A sickly yellow orb dropped down and hit his pants. Despite being smaller than a fingernail, the moment it touched the fabric of his pants, it started to spread and dissolve everything it touched, making a sizzling noise and creating an unpleasant yellow smoke. Harry had to use a silencing charm on Derek as his screams were getting too loud. Still, his expression of agony was enough to convey his situation. Harry vanished the acid curse after it had done its job. He pulled some healing potions out of his tunic and started to administer them to the boys. If they died in the school, it would create more problems than necessary, and he needed them alive for now. The bait had been set. The next morning, the castle was in disarray. Classes had been cancelled for the day. The professors were seen walking around frantically. Over a dozen auras had entered the castle, and the entire Slytherin house was missing. The students assembled in the Great Hall were staring with curiosity at the empty Slytherin table. "What do you think happened?" Neville asked. "Who knows? Professor McGonagall would only say that there was some incident at the Slytherin house," Seamus answered. "Maybe the snakes started fighting among themselves. We can only hope it was really bad." Ron smirked. "Ron, that's not nice." Hermione gave him a disapproving look. "Don't give me that," Ron snapped. "Two of those snakes attacked my sister yesterday. Why should I care if something happened to them?" Hermione lowered her head, not having an answer for that. By now they all knew about the 4 second-year girls who were attacked by 2 Slytherin seniors. And they were apparently saved by the head boy. "Maybe some senior students went to teach those 2 a lesson," Parvati suggested. "That would not explain why the entire house is missing," Lavender said. "And besides, we don't even know their names, right?" She glanced at Lyra. "No, we don't know their names," Lyra admitted. "I'm sure at least one of them is on the Quidditch team," Ginny added. "And we did give their description to Professor McGonagall." "Harry," Lyra tugged on his robes. He looked at his sister. "Do you know something?" She got closer and whispered. Harry stroked her hair. "Don't worry about it." Lyra had a worried expression. She was convinced that whatever happened, her brother was somewhat involved. Now she was just worried he was going to be in trouble with the school. "Attention please." The headmaster entered the hall, accompanied by 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. "Dad, what is he doing here?" Lyra exclaimed. "Working, most likely. The ones next to him are Aura Dawlish and the head of the Aura department, Amelia Bones," Harry answered. "You know them?" "Attention please." Dumbledore had to raise the volume of his voice to silence all the murmurs. "These gentlemen and lady behind me are from the Aura department. They have to ask some questions to a few students present in this hall. I will be speaking some names, and I want you to accompany us for a few minutes. Is that clear?" Dumbledore looked around the hall. His eyes stopped for a moment on Harry before they continued. "Well then, Percy Weasley, Astoria Greengrass, Luna Lovegood, Ginny Weasley, Lyra Potter." "Wait, why are they calling us?" Lyra exclaimed. "Calm down, Lyra," said Ginny. "They probably just want to ask us about yesterday." "We already spoke with the professor," Lyra said. "Yes, but the Auras may want a formal statement," Harry clarified. Dumbledore mentioned the names of several senior students from different houses, and then glanced at Harry again. "And finally, Harry Potter." The group was escorted to a corridor to the left of the Great Hall where most of the professors, as well as several Auras, were waiting. Harry saw his mother among the professors and a few familiar Auras like Shacklebolt. Percy, along with Lyra and the other girls, was led into an empty classroom by Madame Bones. "Is it okay if I go with them?" Lily asked. Madame Bones gave her a warm smile. "Of course, Lily. I just want to get an official statement from them. It will be quick." Lily looked back at Harry for a moment before going into the classroom. "Dawlish, I would like to speak with my son alone for a minute," James told the other Aur next to him. "That's fine, James, but don't take long." Dawlish went to address the other students. "You boys sit there, we will be calling you one by one." Harry saw the headmaster and Snape waiting next to an open door, waiting for the students to come in. This way, James led him to what looked like an unused office. He closed the door behind him and placed several security charms. "You really made a mess this time, son," James said. It was hard to tell by his tone if he was angry or just frustrated. "How are you so sure it was me?" Harry asked. James raised an eyebrow. "Weren't you?" "Of course I was, but I doubt you have much evidence of that." Harry shrugged. "This is serious, Harry. 4 boys are in the hospital," James snapped. "I'm usually serious, but to make your statement more accurate, 4 Death Eater recruits are in the hospital. 2 of them attacked your daughter yesterday and one of them tried to use the Cruciatus curse on her." "What did you say? The Cruciatus?" James was taken aback. He already knew of the attack but had not heard anything about an unforgivable curse being used. "She probably didn't notice it. It was a good thing I was there to stop him." "You were there?" James exclaimed. Harry gave him an impassive glare. "Of course I was. I have an eye on everything that happens in this castle now. Hogwarts is not as safe as Dumbledore likes to say. But don't tell her that. I don't want Lyra to think her brother will always be there to save her. If you were there, why didn't you intervene sooner? They could have been hurt," James asked. "I told you, she has to learn how to fend for herself, because one day there may be no there to help her." "Harry, she is only 12, James stated. "So, I had to learn that lesson when I was 11. I don't think we should stay here much longer. They may start to think I'm suspicious," Harry suggested. "They already suspect you, especially Snape," James said. "To be fair, Snape always suspects me of being guilty of everything," Harry felt the need to point out. "But the real question is, can they prove anything?" James sat down and thought for a second. They briefly questioned the boys before being taken to St. Mungo's, and they were unable to remember the person who attacked them. There were clear signs of obliviation being used, and the other students present, they were all knocked out before seeing anything useful. "See, I did a much better job this time." He didn't even use apparitions since now he knew they could detect that. Instead he used a secret passage to leave the dungeons. "What about your wand?" his father asked. "Clean, since I didn't use it. Don't underestimate Miss Bones and Dawlish. They are good at detecting lies, even without magical means." "Anything else?" "Yes, I would like to know why you did this. You said they were Death Eater recruits, so was that the reason? Or was it revenge because they attacked your sister?" "That's part of it, yes," Harry admitted. "What is the rest then? What other motives could you have?" Harry grinned. "You should see the results soon enough. Probably in a month or 2. Just tell me." "I already have Dumbledore for keeping secrets," James shouted. "Sorry, I can't. It's not like I don't want to tell you, but doing so may ruin things. Now, let's stop the questioning here." Harry stood up. "Best not make them wait too long. Snape is probably already fuming." "He always is," James sighed. He was then led into a classroom with Dumbledore, Snape, McGonagall, and Aurora Dawlish waiting for him. For the most part the Auror conducted the interrogation, with only Snape interrupting a few times to accuse Harry of something. They questioned him for 15 minutes with his father present and then tested his wand. With no clear evidence of any wrongdoing, they had no choice but to let him go. Both Dumbledore and Snape knew it had been him, although for different reasons. Dumbledore knew he was the only one capable of moving around the castle without his knowledge, and the only one with the magical prowess to fight against a group of seniors alone and win. Despite tampering with their memories, Marcus Flint and the rest will eventually realize the identity of their attacker, and so will their parents. With no hard evidence, they could not openly accuse him of anything, so they will have to resort to other means. At last that was what he was counting on. That same afternoon, he was discreetly called to the headmaster's office. Dumbledore had apparently not been satisfied with his explanation after all. As Harry went inside, he was welcomed by a frown face. "You look grumpy today, Professor," Harry pointed out before taking a seat. "I expected Professor Snape to be here too. He wanted to. It was hard to convince him to leave," Dumbledore admitted. "Harry, you are in a very unique position. Because of this I have overlooked many things. I never said anything when you destroyed Hogwarts property. But this time I have 4 grievously wounded students in St. Mungo's." "You do," Harry nodded. Dumbledore was not amused. "I remained mostly quiet during the morning interrogation. because I trusted that you must have a very good reason for this, but I would like to hear it from you. I did have a good reason, Harry told him. The headmaster frowned again. Elaborate a bit more, please. I find the approach of your Order of the Phoenix a bit too passive. I'm trying to push things ahead. Push things, you say? Dumbledore asked. You need to give me a more clear answer. Harry chuckled. You have no idea how funny that is coming from you. He leaned onto the desk. But I will give you a more clear answer. I'm starting a private war with Lord Parkinson and his followers.
What?
Harry, that's preposterous. Didn't James tell you to leave things to the Order? He did, and until now I have left the Order to approach things in your own way. But we are running out of time. What makes you think that? Dumbledore asked. The Order has been keeping an eye on his movements better than me, so you must have also noticed things starting to change. This year, just one look at the Slytherin house and you can see it. You have many sons and daughters of Death Eaters members and potential members, or allies, and they are all acting off. Dumbledore remained silent for a minute. You are right about that. Lord Parkinson has been moving a lot for the past month. He has been creating many new alliances with other members of the Wizengamot, and also his most trusted allies have been taking trips to different parts of the country or even outside. They are trying to find reinforcements. Giants, trolls, vampires, werewolves. I would keep an eye on those. We already are. So far we have seen nothing suspicious. Dumbledore answered. I believe that Lord Parkinson is preparing to take over the country this year, but he knows he is not Voldemort. Without some powerful allies, he doesn't have the military strength to take over by force. This means he will try to do so by political means. Do you know how to stop that? Harry asked. Well, unless we find out exactly what he is trying to do. No, but I don't attain. How is crippling those boys going to matter in? Wait, Dumbledore appeared to finally realize something. You are trying to start a blood feud with those families? Don't worry about the noise, Daphne asked. Harry yawned and got more comfortable on the couch. Sorry, what are we talking about again? I didn't get much sleep last night. Dumbledore had kept him in his office for hours after finding out what he wanted to do. Mostly he was trying to convince him to give up that plan, but it was too late for that anyway. The pieces were already moving. On the next day things went mostly back to normal. The headmaster informed the school about the Slytherin students being attacked by a mysterious individual, and that the Aurora department was working on the case. I'm talking about that note you sent me, Daphne shouted. The blonde girl had almost dragged him away after classes were over. I thought of giving you a heads up, so you won't worry. Harry glanced at her. Didn't seem to work. You look very unsettled.
Of course I am.
I can't forget about those screams. I think like half the Slytherin students are going to end up with nightmares. Yes, those guys were too loud. You know, I can obliviate. Don't even suggest it, Daphne shouted. I'm not even going to ask why you came to terrorize my house. I already have an idea. Daphne knew those boys well enough and the things they usually did. It wasn't surprising that they ended up the way they did after provoking the wrong person. But their families aren't going to stay quiet and do nothing. 4 of those 5 are all heirs of their houses. I know, I'll deal with that when the time comes. I hope you do. Is there something else? I would like to rest a bit here. Harry closed his eyes. Daphne considered for a moment. I suppose not. I still don't have any more news about, but now it's going to be more difficult to. Are you sleeping already? Daphne frowned. She then stood up from her sofa and approached Harry when she got no answer. She stopped for a moment when she was next to the couch that Harry was resting on and looked closely at his face. How can you look so peaceful now? She could still not figure out how could a boy of her own age do the things that he did. But she did have her own theories. Her eyes went to his silver glasses. Maybe I should take them out. He shouldn't sleep with those on. With a bit of hesitation she extended her hands and took the glasses off his face. She put them down on the nearby coffee table before looking back at Harry. A hint of a smile appeared on her face. She felt some satisfaction thinking that at least Harry trusted her enough to sleep in front of her. Her eyes moved to his face. He looks even more handsome without glasses. Wait, what am I thinking? Daphne's cheeks became bright red. But, she glanced at him again. I may not get this chance again. Her blue eyes moved to his lips. Her face leaned closer and closer to his. Her heart was pounding very fast. Daphne was merely inches away now. I am awake, by the way. Then Harry spoke. All of a sudden, Daphne let out a scream and clumsily fell backward, landing on her butt. Even so, she stood up surprisingly quickly. Sorry, I just remembered, I have something, I'll let you rest. She rushed out the door. Harry watched her leave, without saying a word. After she closed the door, he sighed and laid back on the couch. What a troublesome girl. Don't give me more headaches. What is this place? Lyra asked. When you asked me if I was busy on the weekend, this is not what I was expecting, said Luna. This is much better. What were you expecting? Ginny asked, but immediately regretted the question when she saw Luna's face. Don't answer that. This is... Astoria looked around the massive room with curiosity. This is the room of requirement. This is where you will be doing some extracurricular defense classes, Harry told them. Extracurricular classes? Lyra frowned. It's not optional for you, Harry added. But I already have good grades, Lyra complained. I don't think this is about the grades, Lyra, Ginny told her friend. I'm going to teach you how to actually defend yourselves, Harry told them. You mean, if we are attacked like the other day? Ginny asked. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The guys from Slytherin look always terrified now, Lyra commented. It's not about if, it's about when. During the summer you learned how to cast a few different spells, but never learned how to use them in a real scenario. But before we get to that, there is something else I want to say. The location of this room is a secret only a select few know and must remain like that. All three girls looked at Lyra. What? Lyra asked, feeling all eyes on her. I won't say anything. Now you have promised me to remain silent about this room, Harry said in a stern tone. Of course, Ginny said. I was only going to tell the Nargles, but it's probably better this way. They would probably tell the blibbering Hundingers and make a mess. Luna shrugged. Promise. Astoria raised her hand. Lyra got interrupted. And you must also promise to shut Lyra up when she starts to talk too much, Harry added. 2 more months passed after that. Marcus Flint, Lucian Bow, and Adrian Pusey returned to school after spending almost a week in St. Mungo's. Marcus and Lucian did not have visible scarring from their injuries, but Adrian had some visible burns on his chest and neck area. Burns inflicted with cursed fire were not easy to remove. As for Montage and Derek, they never came back. Many stories started to circulate about them, about Montage having lost his arm and Derek having been permanently castrated with a dark curse. There were also many rumors about the person or persons responsible for the attack, since no one had been officially punished for it. A few started to mention Harry since he was one of the students being interrogated, along with some other seniors. But those rumors quickly faded and were replaced by more fantastical ones like Neville Longbottom awakened his full power and took revenge against the Slytherins, or the ghost of the founder Salazar Slytherin himself came back from the grave to put some order in his house. Only a few knew the truth, but the parents of the 5 affected students were desperately looking for the real responsible one. And they wanted blood. 2 weeks before Christmas break, space distorted around inside the main chamber and 2 figures appeared. Why did you have to use apparition? Daphne felt a bit disoriented. The entrance to this place has been closed. This is the fastest way to access it, Harry answered. Daphne got her bearings back and looked around. She then screamed. Maybe I should have warned you. Harry realized his mistake. This is the Chamber of Secrets. Daphne screamed again. Terrible memories of their last year resurfaced in her mind. There are no more snakes here, and the professors even fixed the floor and walls. It's quite safe, Harry assured her and hoped she would stop screaming so loudly. It took her a minute, but she finally calmed down a bit. When you asked me if I was free on the weekend, I thought we were going to Hogsmeade, Daphne muttered. Yes, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. I even put on a new dress and now I am in a humid chamber that smells of death, she added. Again, very sorry, but hey, you look very stunning. He gave her a thumbs up. Oh really? That appeared to cheer her up a bit. Yes, but now we must get down to business. I don't know how long this will take. Harry started to walk to the end of the chamber where his young self had once battled the basilisk with the sword of Gryffindor. You still haven't told me why we are here. Daphne hurried to follow him. I have been making the preparations since we came back to Hogwarts, but for this last part I need a bit of help. He stopped in front of the large circle that had been drawn onto the stone floor. Daphne saw it and got goosebumps. You are not going to summon another one of those things, right? Oh right, I understand the confusion. No, this has nothing to do with demons. This is a circle for a different kind of ritual, Harry pointed out. A ritual? She knew a bit about rituals, but only what she had read in books. I thought no one used them anymore, since the ministry declared them all illegal. Harry opened a leather bag and started taking out several boxes, glass vials and other containers before placing them carefully on the ground close to the circle. They are technically not legal, that's true, but you are doing one anyway. Why am I not surprised? She then seemed to recall something else. Wait, aren't rituals extremely dangerous? And don't you need to make sacrifices for them to work? That's why they were made illegal. Well, I suppose they are, but everything has a price. All the magic we use comes with some price, and the more powerful ones have bigger prices. That's very vague. Daphne frowned. She felt like Harry was doing it on purpose to avoid telling her more. I want to know what this ritual does and what the price is. Remember what you told me on our first week? You said that your family owes me a great favor and that you would do anything to repay it. Her frown deepened. I don't think those were my exact words. But yes, are you going to ask me to help you and not ask questions? Harry shrugged. To sum things up, I'm going to perform 2 rituals. One to enhance my muscles and bones. The other one is to enhance my reflexes and perception. The prices are not as harmful as you think. Daphne knew him enough to know that this was going to be as much detail as she was going to get. Fine. What do I need to do? Harry smiled. Thanks. He went over the materials, naming each one of them and making sure she remembered them. These are some of the ingredients my father acquired for you. She recalled some of the listed items. Yes. Now what you need to do is to place a specific ingredient in one of those small circles surrounding the big one. You will place them exactly when I tell you. Timing is very important. This is why he didn't ask Dobby to assist him. He loved the elf but would not trust him with a task this precise. Dumbledore would have been a better choice than Daphne, but the old man would not have helped him. He understood rituals much better than her, and would be able to guess that Harry was going to have to sacrifice many years of his life to successfully perform these rituals. Now we can begin. Harry took off his robes. What are you doing? Daphne asked nervously. Harry threw his robes to one side and glanced back at Daphne with his usual calm expression. See the inner circle? She hurried to move her eyes away from him and stared at the large drawing on the floor. On closer inspection she noticed there were 2 distinct circles, one on the inside and another one on the outside, and they were connected by some lines. I do. What about it? Nothing with magic can enter that circle, except for myself and the exact ingredients at the precise moment. Anything else has the risk of interfering with the ritual. I understand then. The robes have magical enchantments as well as the wand and, wait, you are not going to take off all your clothes, right? Normally you would have to take them all off. But, I will keep my underwear. I already made sure there is nothing there that could cause trouble. Daphne looked a bit relieved to hear that. She didn't know how to act if he would. So, what do I do exactly? After being done undressing, Harry walked to the center of the circle and sat down. Take a good look at the ingredients displayed there. I will need you to place them in one of the small spaces around the big circle. When I request an ingredient, you will place it. Do not delay and do not stop to ask questions. Daphne nodded. She didn't know much about rituals, but she at least understood that if something went wrong, Harry would be in danger. The fact that he entrusted her with this task meant he had a lot of confidence in her. This made her very happy, but she did her best to keep her impassive expression. Harry then went into a detailed explanation about all the ingredients being used and their order. Daphne got goosebumps when she saw some of them. There were things like basilisk blood, venom, and even its eyes, along with some other nasty things.
I'm ready,
she told him once the explanation was over. Let us begin then. Harry put his right hand on the inner circle. First ingredient, dragon heart. Daphne followed his instructions and continued to pick ingredients and place them at the correct spots on the large circle. These rare and expensive ingredients would then dissolve and fuse into the magical circle that Harry was sitting on top of. Some visible changes started to occur in Harry as more ingredients were processed. Daphne saw his body shake, and his muscles became more defined. She still kept her full focus on the ritual. 3 more ingredients, she thought after emptying a vial containing several phoenix tears. That ingredient alone was worth more than half her wardrobe. Where did he get the money for all of this? She could already guess that neither of his parents knew about what he was doing right now. They would never have approved of Harry doing something so dangerous. 2 more ingredients, Daphne thought. Harry finally called the last ingredient, basilisk venom. Daphne was well aware that she could not ask any questions right now, so she trusted that Harry knew what he was doing, and then, very carefully, she emptied the vial containing one of the most deadly substances into the magical circle. All that was left now was to wait. The inner circle gained a soft glow, and after that, everything went very quiet, for several unnerving minutes. Harry had his eyes closed, and appeared to be completely focused on something. Daphne did not dare to speak now for fear of distracting him and causing him harm. Instead she directed her eyes to Harry's left shoulder. She recalled the markings that appeared on that day at her house when Harry came to save her sister. Those strange marks were still there, and she could swear they looked bigger now. They were completely black like ink and covered his shoulder and most of his left arm. What is that? Over the next 10 minutes Harry's muscles contracted and grew, becoming more defined. He even appeared to become slightly taller. Then he opened his eyes. "It's done," he said in a tired voice. The process was very exhausting. "Did it work? Are you okay?" Daphne asked with concern. He gave her a warm smile. "Never felt better." He moved his arms a bit. "I feel much stronger. The ritual should have also made my bones more resilient and increased the speed at which my body heals itself." "That's amazing." Daphne's eyes scanned his naked torso until she took notice of what she was doing and hurried to look away with a light blush on her cheeks. "It is." He remained concentrated on examining the results. "We will take a short rest, and then we can perform the second ritual." Right. She almost forgot there was still another one. Harry took notice of the concern on her face. "The next one will be faster, Daphne. It will also require fewer ingredients." He tried to ease her worries a bit. "That's good. You are not planning on doing more of these in the future, right?" she decided to ask. Harry shook his head. "Of course not. Trying to do too many rituals on yourself can lead to catastrophic results. I don't plan to." Harry put a hand on his chest and leaned forward. "Harry?" Daphne heard his painful grunt and grew concerned. "Is nothing. I just felt a bit of pain in my chest," Harry said with a frown. "Is that normal?" she asked. "No, it's not," he thought. "It's okay, I just need to." This time it was much worse and it almost made him fall on his face. Did something go wrong during the ritual? He mentally went over the entire process, but could not find any issues or mistakes. "Harry!" Daphne was now starting to panic. He was about to say something when he felt the sudden urge to vomit. Daphne screamed when she saw Harry vomit a mouthful of blood on the floor. "Harry, Daphne, the wand," Harry said with difficulty as he tried to stand up. "Your wand? Hold on, I think it was over here." She hurried to his pile of clothes, where she recalled him leaving his wand holster. Harry let out some painful noises before more blood came out of his mouth and nose. "What is this?" "It's like my entire body is rejecting the magic from the ritual, and destroying itself in the process." He could feel his muscles trying to tear themselves apart and his organs starting to fail. He was dying, and very quickly. Here Daphne came back with the wand but stopped at the edge of the circle. Harry did not have the vocal capacity to explain to her that once the ritual was over, it didn't matter if she entered the circle. So, with a lot of difficulty, he took a few steps closer to her. When he was about to reach her, his legs gave up, and Daphne had to grab him and hold him up. "Harry, what happened? Did something go wrong with the ritual? Should I go call Madame Pomfrey?" Daphne stammered nervously while trying her best not to let him fall. Harry managed to stabilize himself a bit and placed an arm over her shoulders to avoid falling. Daphne hurried to place the wand in his free hand. Madame Pomfrey would not be able to save me, and neither would St. Mungo's. I have a few minutes left at best. There were only 2 persons he thought could have a chance to save him, and only one of them was in the British Isles. Since he was in no shape to attempt bypassing the international barriers, that left him with only one choice, and it wasn't a good one. I have to try. I wonder if she will actually help me. Harry lifted the wand and it felt like it weighed 100 pounds. Daphne opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say anything, she felt a pulling sensation and disappeared from the chamber. She felt dizzy for a moment and closed her eyes. There, Erge, Harry grunted. Daphne quickly opened her eyes again when she heard him vomit more blood. Harry, wait. She then realized that they had apparated into a different location. It was a dark and humid-looking alley. Her eyes followed the direction that Harry's wand was pointing. It looked like an old shop that had not been maintained in decades. The windows were incredibly dirty, making it impossible to see what was going on inside. Even the letters on the sign were gone, leaving it as a shop with no name. You want to go in there? She asked him with a dubious face. She did not understand why they didn't go to the hospital if he was able to use apparition from the chamber. Hurry! Harry urged her to go. As much as she wanted to question his decision, Daphne knew that he was in no shape to answer. She had made full use of her limited physical strength to help Harry to the door. He tapped it with his wand, and it opened immediately, revealing the interior of the shop. She was a bit surprised to find that it looked clean, at least the parts she could see under the limited light of a dozen candles or so. We have customers today. Welcome. A cheerful voice could be heard as soon as they put a foot inside. Help, Daphne immediately called. The owner of the voice came into view now. It was a tall, middle-aged woman with average looks, black hair and black eyes. She wore a simple-looking violet dress and several pieces of jewelry on her wrists and neck. She stared at Daphne and Harry with mild interest. I don't usually get customers this young. Please, he needs help, Daphne begged the woman. After all, whoever this was, Harry appeared convinced that she could help him. The woman raised an eyebrow. Does this look like a hospital to you, little girl? But, her eyes went back to Harry. If this woman was not a healer, then why did they come here? Harry clenched his teeth and tried to ignore as much of the pain as he could. He had very little time, and now he had to convince this difficult woman to save him. He could only think of one way to accomplish that. The woman asked. Her eyes gained a slight shine as she gazed at Harry. Morgana, Harry finally said. Her expression immediately changed from mild curiosity to anger. A large wooden staff appeared in her hand and was pointed at Harry. Where did you learn that name? Harry's answer came in the form of vomiting more blood on her shop's floor. He was completely pale now. Daphne looked at this woman. My lady, please, if you can't save him, he is going to. Tears fell across her face. Harry lifted his face and looked at the older woman. Morgana, pact, ritual. He then collapsed. Harry! Daphne cried. The woman walked to one of the shelves and took a flask before walking next to Harry. She used her staff to flip him over, then she opened his mouth and dunked the entire flask down his throat. Daphne saw some of the liquid spilling from his lips and gasped loudly. Are you giving him blood? Unicorn blood. This will keep him alive until I find how to save him. But, her eyes moved to Daphne. He better have a good explanation once he recovers. Or I'm killing both of you. The door of the shop closed by itself with a loud bamf noise. Daphne watched the woman work with rapt attention. She had seen healers of all kinds work on her sister, but never one like her. The woman had left Harry lying in the middle of her shop and then used her own blood to draw some symbols on Harry's chest, and then started to chant in a language she had never heard before. She could do nothing but watch now, not wanting to speak, in fear of interrupting the process, even though she had so many questions. The first one being, who is this woman? What is this strange shop? Or why did she get so angry when Harry mentioned that name? Morgana. The woman stopped chanting, stood up, and walked to another shelf. The rectangular shop was completely surrounded by shelves that go from near the floor up to the ceiling. There must be thousands upon thousands of objects stored on those shelves. Let's see. Where did I put that? The woman muttered as she went through some shelves. Daphne was not surprised she was unable to find something. None of the flasks, vials, boxes or other different objects had any labels on them. How is she supposed to remember what is where? Is Harry going to be okay? Daphne decided to take this chance and ask. He might if he survives what comes next. The woman said. What? What comes next? Ah, here it is. She took a large box out of the shelf. It didn't look that big at first, but as she pulled it the box grew in size, until it almost hid her entire upper body as she was holding it. She then walked back to Harry's side and placed the box down. Your foolish boyfriend performed a ritual that conflicted with the previous one. Now he has two sources of magic inside his body, fighting a war and killing him in the process. But wait, no. He is not my boyfriend, Daphne shouted at the older woman. The woman laughed. Young love. How adorable. Daphne's cheeks became completely red. She screamed and fell on her butt when she saw what was inside the box. You are very loud, little one, the older witch said before placing what looked like a dead human baby on the floor. "'Cause what? What are you doing?" With Daphne pointed at the baby. "Oh, this. We need to remove all the magic this boy added to his body. Now ritual magic is, how can I describe it? Sticky, perhaps." Sticky? Daphne had no idea what this odd woman was talking about. Indeed, the moment we remove it from him, it will try to attach to someone else, and so, we need a container for that. A dead human baby. Daphne frowned. The witch grinned. You are wrong in two things. She used her own thumbnail to make a small cut on her finger, and then rested it against the baby's forehead, leaving a bloody mark. All of a sudden the baby's eyes opened, and started to flail his little arms and legs around, but did not cry or make any sounds. Daphne's eyes opened wide at seeing this bizarre spectacle. He is alive. It is kind of, but as you can imagine by now, this thing is not human. Daphne noticed that this baby was extremely weird. What is it then? A homunculus. An artificial living thing, created by alchemy. I got it from an old friend for a good price. Homunculus, Daphne repeated. She looked at the baby with disbelief. There was an uncanny feeling while staring at it. Just one look was enough to know that something was very off with this baby. I'd better begin. The sooner we start, the better for him. She took out her staff and started to chant again. The blood circle on Harry's chest started to make noises. It was sizzling as if the blood was boiling. Then some red smoke started to come out of Harry's body and converged above the circle. The smoke then turned into a thick liquid, as the witch continued to chant. It's all out. Several beads of sweat covered her forehead. The red liquid hovered gently over Harry's stomach for several seconds before it started to move on its own. Is that the magic from the ritual? Why is it moving so much? Daphne asked. That liquid gave her a terrible feeling. I told you it was sticky. It will now try to attach itself to someone else. The thick liquid started to grow in size. Small tentacles appeared on its surface and moved around. Let's get you a new home. She gave her staff a flick and the bead of liquid went toward the homunculus's body. As soon as it landed on the baby's face, it moved around and entered through its mouth and nose. They both stared at the homunculus baby in silence for a few seconds. Daphne looked horrified at the spectacle while the witch just appeared to be mildly interested. That thing was inside Harry's body? Daphne asked. Nasty, huh? That's ritual magic for you. And this one appeared to be special. The witch pointed at the baby. This one thrashed around with violence as its body started to decay. Less than 10 seconds later it stopped moving. Is it dead? Daphne stared at the unmoving little body. The witch gave her staff another flick, and the box from before came flying and pulled the small body inside. It is that ritual was particularly nasty, even if nothing had gone wrong. The witch glanced at Harry. The boy would not have lived more than a few years. What? Daphne exclaimed with shock. Did Harry not know this? But he made that ritual and he was going to do another one on top of that. She did not understand why he would do something like that. Your boyfriend should be fine now. the witch told Daphne before moving her eyes to the pool of Harry's blood beneath him. Go check on him. Daphne did not need to be told twice. Harry opened his eyes and found himself on the cold floor of the shop. You couldn't even put me on a bed, the witch scoffed. You just woke up and already complaining. Beds are for guests and I don't remember inviting you into my shop. Harry, how are you feeling? Daphne was kneeling at his side. He tried to stand up a bit, and it felt like he was being stabbed by a dozen knives. I feel better, thanks. Harry's eyes moved around the room until they landed back on the older witch. At least bring me some robes, don't be so stingy. The woman's frown appeared to deepen. I care not for your comfort. I still have to decide if you are going to leave this place alive. Now tell me, who are you and how do you know my name? She pointed her staff at him. At least she is still temperamental, as I remember. He wasn't sure if that was a good thing. I am Harry Potter, he answered. Never heard of you, the witch responded. And I have not interacted with the House of Potter in a very long time. I am sure none of them had learned of my identity or about my pact. She added. I wasn't done, Harry huffed. As for how I know your old name or about the pact you were forced to sign by that crazy old man, you told me yourself. Oh, did I? Morgana didn't seem too fazed by his revelation. So you are claiming to be either the reincarnation of an old foe of mine, or someone who tampered with the laws of time and space. Is that what you are saying, Harry? Daphne turned to him, unsure if she was supposed to hear this conversation. He looked at her with a soft smile and patted her head gently. It's fine for you to learn some things. You deserve that much, and unlike my sister, you have proven capable of keeping a secret. Daphne felt incredibly happy to hear this, but did her best to keep her composure, and just nodded. Harry glanced back at Morgana, who never took her eyes off him after he woke up. There is some truth in both statements, I suppose. He took notice of her increasingly displeased expression. But I will explain it better. When I said I am Harry Potter, I didn't just mean in this timeline. I was originally born in a different one. You traveled from a different timeline. Morgana became immediately interested, rather than surprised. The same could not be said about Daphne. You are like from the future, she exclaimed. That was one of my theories. She had thought long and hard about Harry's knowledge of magic, and one of the first things that occurred to her involved time traveling. I am from a future, not this timeline's future. I don't know what is going to happen here. The world where I used to live was very different from this one, too different to make anything else than some educated guesses. And so, in this timeline where you came from, you met a different version of me and I revealed some of my secrets, like the name I left behind. Is that what you are saying? Morgana asked. You did before you died, Harry commented casually. Daphne became worried about how this witch was going to react, but much to her surprise, she laughed. Ha! Yes. That does seem like the only scenario where I would reveal something like that. You have your answer then. Can I have some robes now? Harry requested again. He could have conjured them himself, but he was trying to gauge this old witch's disposition. Morgana stared into his eyes. As absurd as your story is, I don't feel any deceit from you, and I have heard much crazier ones. She turned around and walked behind the counter at the end of the shop before pulling out some simple black robes. She then threw them at Harry and turned her attention to Daphne. What is your name? It's Daphne Greengrass, madam. She was not sure what to call her. Harry referred to her as Morgana, but she seemed to dislike that name. Madam Yaffel will do, Miss Greengrass. From now on you and Mr. Potter are my clients and are welcome into my shop. She handed Daphne a paper card. Hold this, and you will always be able to find my shop in Diagon Alley. Daphne looked at the card she was now holding. It was made of white cardboard and said Madam Yaffel Magical Artifacts in purple letters. It looked like a simple business card, perhaps a bit too simple. Mr. Potter, do you know the reason you almost died today? Madam Yaffel asked. Harry frowned. He still hadn't been able to figure that out. Do you know the reason? I'm sure there were no flaws in the ritual. Ritual magic is already flawed enough, but that was not what went wrong. You already had the effect of a ritual inside your body, and these conflicted with the one you did today. Your body paid the price of that conflict. The effects of another ritual. He did not know what to think of that. He never performed any rituals in this life, and the previous owner of this body didn't even know how to hold a wand. He looked at his hands. If it's not a ritual, then what is inside this body? By your reaction you don't know what I'm talking about. The witch observed. Well, this is none of my business, but you should figure that out before doing more reckless magic on yourself. I will. He needed to find out what happened. As proven by today's events, having unknown effects since his body can only end up in catastrophe. Now all that is left is the matter of payment. Morgana glanced at him. You already took my blood. Harry had not missed the fact that the pool of blood beneath him had disappeared. Aye, is true. Where did all the blood go? Daphne had been focusing completely on Harry and had missed that. That should give you at least a century or two, Harry told her. Aren't you a bit overconfident? Very well, but that would only cover my work. You still need to pay for the loss of my precious homunculus and the robes. Let's say 10,000 for the homunculus and 50 for the robes. That's so expensive, Daphne exclaimed. She may not know the price of that weird baby, but with that amount of money, one could buy a large number of rare ingredients. And 50 galleons for those ugly black robes was just robbery. The witch chuckled. If you can't pay, we can reach a different agreement. If you give the method you used to travel through timelines, we can call it even. I will send my house elf with the money in a few days, Harry told her. He didn't take her request seriously at all. Madame Yaffel shrugged. She already expected that. Even if Harry knew how to do that, a method to travel through timelines like that was not something that could be bought with mere coins. Harry adjusted the robes and looked at Daphne. Do you have my wand? She nodded and brought it to him. We should return to the castle before it gets too late, or they will question our absence. Come visit again, my customers are always welcome, the witch said with a smile. When they left the shop, Daphne turned around and stared at the front with confusion. The previously old and dirty shop was no more. Instead, she saw a beautiful place with pristine paint, clean windows and flower beds on the sides of the door. The sign was now in perfect condition, and she could read the name of the shop with no problems. The letters were exactly the same as the ones written on the card she was given. This is what the shop actually looks like. What you saw before was merely an illusion designed to keep curious people away, Harry explained to her. Who is this Madame Yaffel? Everything about her feels very strange, Daphne asked. You probably have read about her, Harry told her. I have read about her. Is she that important? She looked back at the sign of the shop. It's backward, Harry added. Backwards? Yaffel, she gasped. Harry, that can't be. She is not real, just an old tale. Careful, don't say that to her face. She may kill you. That woman is the most dangerous blood witch I know. And he pointed at the card. Don't lose that. She gives them to very few people. That old witch must have seen something in you. Really? Daphne glanced down at the small card in her hands before placing it in her inner pocket. Say, Harry, can I ask you something? She looked a bit hesitant. I figured you would have some questions after learning of my origins. Go ahead. He put a privacy charm around them just in case. In your other life, did you know me? Or, well, the other me? No, not really. We were in the same year, so I recall seeing you a few times when I was in Hogwarts, but we never talked. You are the only Daphne Greengrass that I know. I see. She felt somewhat relieved to hear that. She would not need to compare herself with another version of her own persona. Anything else? Harry asked. Yes, but it's not a question. Daphne turned serious. Then, before Harry could respond, she interrupted him with a loud slap. He could have avoided it, but he felt a bit curious about why she did that. What? She pointed at him. What were you thinking with that ritual? Oh, that. I didn't know it was going to affect me in such a way. I still don't understand exactly what happened, even after being told that he already had the effects of a different ritual in him. This was something he would have to research. I'm not talking about that, she snapped. Madame Yaffel told me, even if everything had gone right, that ritual would have killed you in a few years, and you were planning on doing a second one. Why? Now she realizes why she was upset. I suppose it's difficult to understand from your perspective, but how do I explain this? In my old life I made some very grave mistakes that ended up costing a lot of lives. I don't know why I got this second chance, but I am not willing to repeat those mistakes, no matter the cost. And you would sacrifice your life to what? To save the world? That's very Gryffindor of you, Daphne scoffed. The world? He raised an eyebrow. You are very mistaken. I'm not so pure, not anymore. I'm just trying to save a few people who are important to me, but who will likely die if I don't give it my best. She calmed down a bit. Can you at least promise me you won't perform any more rituals? Sure, but I can promise you that. He had no plan to do them anyway. Not until he knew exactly what had happened. He may be reckless but not suicidal. That will do for now, she told him. Let us return. Harry offered Daphne his hand. Daphne smiled before taking it, and they both vanished from the alley. Oof. Harry collapsed on the couch of the meeting room after leaving Daphne at the entrance of the dungeons. His entire body was hurting, but he did not want to worry that girl any further, so he tried his best to hide it. Arrgh. But now he was alone. Dobby. The elf appeared immediately with a loud pop. Master Harry? Dobby approached him. Seeing his master resting on the couch like that was not normal at all. Dobby, do me a favor. Bring me a case of healing potions. The best one we have in stock. Immediately, Master Potter. Dobby nodded enthusiastically. Dobby will bring them in a second. Wait, Dobby, one more thing. Master? And a bottle of fire whiskey, Harry grunted. Just in case the potions were not enough. Dobby promptly returned with the items. Here, Master. He brought him a large wooden box and a bottle on top. Harry glanced at the bottle. It was an expensive one. Now that I think about it, I never put any fire whiskey in there. Where did Dobby get that bottle? No matter. He put the bottle aside and opened the wooden box. There were a dozen flasks filled with a thick green liquid. It looked disgusting, but they were very effective. He downed one flask in a single sip. That feels better, but is still so gross. Then he decided to open the fire whiskey. Thanks, Dobby. That will be all for tonight. Understood, Master Harry Potter. The elf looked content to have been of use. Oh, before you go, can you bring Daphne some food to her room? But don't let anyone see you. The poor girl had not eaten anything since breakfast. Dobby can do. The elf disappeared, and Harry took another sip of fire whiskey. This is good stuff. It's been long since I had some. He lifted the bottle and read the label. Wait, this is a 1940s reserve. Didn't Dad have one of these? Master, wake up. Harry grunted and opened his eyes a bit. He felt terrible, but at least the room wasn't too bright. Master? Dobby called again. Give me a moment. It took him a few seconds to regain his bearings. He was lying on a couch inside the meeting room, surrounded by a dozen empty flasks and one empty bottle of fire whiskey. Right, I remember now. His body wasn't hurting anymore, but he still had a terrible headache. An improvement at least, he thought. Let's see, today is Sunday, right? He asked, hoping he hadn't passed out for several days again. Yes, Master, it is Sunday morning, Dobby confirmed. I see, and why on Merlin's name are you waking me up on Sunday morning? Harry grunted. Dobby took a step back. The balmy old man wants to speak with Master. The headmaster? This better be important, or I swear I will pull him by his beard. Harry attempted to stand up and grabbed onto the armrest of the couch. As he did, his fingers pierced the leather, and the entire armrest snapped loose with a loud crack, causing Harry to lose his balance and fall to the floor, along with several of the flasks. Master, Dobby stared at him in confusion, not really understanding what happened. I'm fine, it must have been an old couch. He stood up without help this time. So, I must go to his office. I guess. Yes, he said the password was. Never mind that. Harry brushed it off. Where is my wand? He asked while looking around. Here, Master, Dobby will bring it. His wand had somehow ended up on the other side of the room. Okay, Harry took the wand and gave himself a quick look over. He was wearing the black robes Morgana sold him. That will do. It was Sunday, so he didn't need to dress in uniform today. And he also didn't feel like going to his room to change. But before I go see the old man, I need to do one stop. He gave his wand a flick and apparated away. Moaning Myrtle screamed, You! What are you doing here? You're still angry with me, huh? This was the only bathroom he knew would be empty. It's not like he could go around the school using apparition. Did you come here to destroy my bathroom again? The ghost yelled.
Can you calm down?
I have a headache already. And no, I didn't come here to destroy anything. Harry entered one of the stalls and started urinating. Oof! I was completely full.
Why you?
You degenerate. This is a girl's bathroom. Stop with the screeching already. Harry put a hand on the wall of his stall, and it made a loud cracking noise before toppling over, breaking 2 more walls in the process. Both he and the ghost remained in silence after that, looking at the broken stalls. Well, I was done anyway. He lifted his wand. You? Myrtle screamed at him. You? Destroyer of bathrooms. He heard the ghost raging before apparating away. Harry stood before the gargoyle that guarded the entrance to the headmaster's office. Password, the construct asked in its usual monotone voice. I forgot to wash my hands. Annoying ghost. Harry complained. Encore. Just open already. Harry shouted. My headache got worse. The gargoyle spun around, revealing a very familiar set of stairs. Before he could take a step inside the office, Dumbledore already greeted him. Here he is, Harry Potter. I hope this is important, Professor. I'm not feeling great today. Harry grumbled. He arrives late and complains. Is this level of impoliteness normal for your students, Mr. Dumbledore? Harry heard a very acute voice he was sure not to recognize. When he finally entered the office, Harry quickly spotted the headmaster standing next to his desk and he also saw a tiny man standing right on top of the desk, looking directly at him. Harry panicked for a moment. Professor, please tell me you can also see a tiny man standing on your desk. He hoped this wasn't some hallucination caused by drinking an entire bottle of fire whiskey in like 30 minutes. Harry, Dumbledore looked outraged at his comment. I'll change my impolite for blatantly rude, the tiny man said with clear displeasure. Okay, so you can see it too. That's good. He felt relieved. Harry, this is Professor Mervis Silverbell. You should be familiar with that name, Dumbledore said. It does ring a bell. He looked at the tiny man again. He was quite peculiar because unlike races like goblins or dwarves, he did not have stubby short limbs, but he was perfectly proportionate for his size, which was around 1/5 of a normal human. Other than the size itself, he looked like a normal old man with a long white beard and a wooden cane. Ah, I remember now. Mervis Silverbell is one of the authors of the Time book. He glanced at the tiny old man with interest. Are you a gnome, perhaps? It was one of the few races he never interacted with in his past since they were one of the first to go extinct. I am indeed a gnome, he huffed. Harry, be polite. Professor Silverbell is not only one of the authors of that book, he is also the director of the Time Department in the Ministry. He is without a doubt the #1 expert in time magic. Dumbledore explained. My apologies, Professor. I didn't know you were a... Never mind. I didn't know there were any gnomes living in magical Britain. The only ones I have ever seen are those garden gnomes the Weasleys are always beating with sticks. The face of the tiny professor became red with anger. Do not compare me with those things. Harry, Dumbledore sighed. Why don't you let me do the talking? That was the headmaster's polite way of telling him to shut up. Right, Harry agreed. It's not like he was trying to argue with the tiny old man on purpose. Since we are all here, why don't we get started? I'm sure Professor Silverbell is a very busy person. Dumbledore escorted them outside his office. I would like to go first to the area where the anomalous activity has been the strongest, the professor said. Dumbledore glanced at Harry first. Well, that would be the Chamber of Secrets then. This way the entrance is not too far. He'd rather not mention it was in a girl's bathroom, and perhaps the old gnome would not notice. When they were about to begin walking, something very important occurred to Harry. Wait, he exclaimed all of a sudden. The two professors looked at him. Is there a problem, Harry? Dumbledore asked. No, I need to use the bathroom. It's very urgent. He took a few steps and turned around. Just wait for me here, I won't take long. He took off running. Professor Silverbell glanced up at Dumbledore with a displeased expression. Is this really the brilliant student you wanted to accompany us? Well, Dumbledore looked troubled. He is a very brilliant wizard, on most days. His breath reeked of alcohol. The gnome huffed. He did notice that, as well as the strange robes Harry was wearing, and his lack of shoes and glasses. You know, kids always partying too much. I'll talk to him later. Harry took another turn and finally found an old classroom. There. He opened the door and barged inside. He had no time to waste. Ah! A girl let out a loud shriek. What the? I locked the door, someone else said. When Harry moved his eyes in the direction of the voices, he found two Hufflepuff seniors in the midst of undressing each other. Get out of here! The boy stood up from the table where they were both sitting, and got in front of his girlfriend. You tell him. The girl encouraged him. I have need of this room, go find a broom closet, Harry said with an annoyed tone. It was still early in the morning. He didn't get how these two were already in the mood for this kind of activities. How dare you? We are your seniors. The boy had a deep frown. Just teach this boy a lesson, Justin. The girl lost her patience. Harry was getting annoyed now. He didn't realize it, but his green eyes started to shine brightly, and it was more noticeable since he wasn't wearing his glasses. The small tables and chairs around him started to shake. Get out! Harry brought his hand down upon the large professor's desk next to him. The thick slab of oak wood shattered like it had been hit by an iron cannonball. Its pieces flew everywhere, and the remains of the table collapsed. The young couple became scared shitless. They looked at each other with expressions of shock and terror. You know, there is a lovely broom closet just around the corner, the boy hurried to say. Yes, let's go there. The girl covered herself and took off running out of the classroom, promptly followed by her boyfriend. As soon as they were out, Harry closed the door with a flick of his wand before looking back at the remains of the desk. What is wrong with me today? I keep breaking things. He didn't think he had hit the desk too hard. As much as he wanted to find out more about these changes, there was a much more pressing matter right now. Dobby. The elf appeared in front of him. Master Harry, what can Dobby do for you? I have an urgent job for you. I need you to enter the Chamber of Secrets and clean the main chamber. There should be a huge mess from yesterday's ritual, like blood materials and other stuff. You need to go in there and remove as much as possible before Dumbledore gets there. Do you understand? Dobby understands, Master Potter. Dobby will clean the chamber in no time at all. Go then. Hurry. The house elf disappeared with a loud pop noise. He could only hope the elf was able to remove everything in time. Harry went back to Dumbledore, and the little gnome. He noticed that both of them appeared to be mildly upset. Did I take too long? He wondered. Sorry about that, had a big meal yesterday, we can go now. Dumbledore coughed. Eh? Indeed, let us be on our way then. As they walked around the castle, the tiny professor's mood seemed to improve. He was constantly looking around with a warm expression. It's been so long since I last visited Hogwarts, but it still looks the same. Yes, the castle has barely changed since its creation, nearly 1,000 years ago, Dumbledore commented. Such a wonderful place. The gnome added, would you like to do a short tour? We can take a longer route. Harry suggested, hoping to give Dobby a bit more time. The gnome seemed to consider it for a moment. No, there will be another chance for that. I would like to finish what I came here for first. Mr. Dumbledore, where are we going exactly? I always wondered about this legendary chamber and where the entrance could be. About that. Dumbledore looked around nervously.